Okay, man, are you ready to go?
I'm ready to go. Now, come on, now crank this motherfucker up.
Break it down like this.
Hello, Internet. Gino, that Green Echo here again with another episode of Deep Listens. And today, we're going to get a little stew going. Playing the Artful Escape, Carl Weathers' The Artful Escape. And I am joined in discussing this game by Pete Busby. Hello, Pete.
Hey, how's it going? This is my pick this week, and I'm happy with it. I do not feel like it was a pick wasted, like I sometimes like to do. This week's fun fact is about clams.
Yay!
Ooh. So apparently clams and mussels are like a fairly popular, let's call them instrument for water treatment plants. So there's this very famous one in Poland. They call their big water pump Fat Kathy. But, whatever that is in Polish. But these clams, they put them in the water pump because clams will shut their shells when the water's of low quality. So they put these sensors on the clam shells, and when they shut their shells, they know that they need to shut off the water supply for the city. So like pretty much all of, I think it said Warsaw's water, the quality of it is based on these 8 clams and whether or not their shells are open or closed.
Those are the 8 loneliest clams in the world.
Do the 8 clams have like a team name?
Like Clam Force 8 or something?
Yeah, exactly.
Clam Team 6.
I wish. No, as far as I can see, there's a whole documentary about it called Fat Kathy. I did not watch the whole documentary, so they very well might. The good news is the clams only have to work for 3 months, and then they get sort of used to the water, and they get swapped out. So the water company takes them back to the exact pond they found them and puts them back. So, the clams come out okay.
So you're telling me these clams are deputized on a temporary basis, and then they're put back
retire
into civilian life?
Yeah, and then by like week 7, they're like, I'm getting too old for this shit.
Do they get a nice pension?
They're clams. They get all the water sediment they can eat. I think that's a pretty good deal if you're a clam.
Yeah, that's not bad. I'm just imagining a grizzled clam after 3 months of deployment.
Just by the 3rd month, they glue little 5 o'clock shadow on the clams.
Yeah, the clams are like, this clam's seen too much death. It's seen too much, I don't know, what, contaminant? Oil? I don't know.
Yeah, sediment, I guess. I don't know.
I want a cartoon show that follows the lives and adventures of these 8 clams. Get on it. And that other voice you heard is M. Palladino. Hello, M.
Hello. This game was a pleasant surprise. I was not expecting to like it as much as I did. So thanks for that.
When Pete started describing it, I was like, oh no, not 12 minutes. And then it's like, oh, The Artful Escape. Okay.
We'll give it a try. Why not?
Yep. All right. So before we get into the show, just our usual reminder, you can get in touch with the show at DeepListensPod on Twitter, deeplistens.libsyn.com. We have our comment sections and deeplistenspodcast@gmail.com. That's where you can send us emails. You can also support the show on patreon.com/deeplistens. And if you were to do so, you would get access to our Discord. And we'll go to the Discord report, but we actually have an email, folks.
Oh, wow.
Ooh, okay.
An email so good, it went to spam at first, and then I had to fish it out of spam.
That's how you know.
And if an email got sent to spam, you can guess who sent it. It's ZP. It's co-host of Off the Deep End, Chris Zombie Pie Redacted. He has come in hot with this email that it says ZP, so subject line, ZP hyphen 76ers pain. So that's fun.
Yep. Yeah, I assumed this was what was coming. I'm surprised it took ZP this long.
Yeah, so I'm just gonna start. I'm gonna try and do it in tone. It begins thusly. I'm back, bitches. Okay, considering the Balls Deep podcast is probably on permanent hiatus, that's not true. We just haven't had a good time to, record it. We could do one going into the season. We got a lot to go over from last year.
Things are happening.
Yes. I wanted to send in one of the skits I prepared for the show. For this bit, Pete will need to rank various events associated with the process from 1 to 10. 1 being the worst and around the Bynum trade in terms of pain, and 10 being good to great, like making the playoffs or getting to the finals. I want to emphasize not everything on this list is bad, but just how this worked. Okay, there's a lot of things here, Pete, so I just need a numerical. So 1 is you stubbed your toe on a razor blade. 10 is, I don't know, you eat meat, like great ribs.
Gotcha. Okay, I'm with you.
Okay, rate it. Joel Embiid redshirting for 2 years.
3.
Michael Carter-Williams winning Rookie of the Year.
Oh, God, -4.
Drafting Nerlens Noel and Michael Carter-Williams ahead of Giannis and Rudy Gobert.
Bad 3, but I was high on Nerlens at the time.
Jahlil Okafor beating the shit out of a random guy in Boston.
6, I guess.
4 years of Hollis Thompson almost getting there, but not quite.
4.
Letting Rocco and Dario Saric walk.
5. That wasn't too bad.
Trading for Jimmy Butler. Not including him letting him leave for nothing.
-2. What a clown.
JJ Redick dribble handoffs to JoJo.
8.
The Simmons Embiid era's inability to run a functional pick and roll offense.
2.
The Jimmy Butler trade. That's on here
5.
twice.
Yeah.
Letting Jimmy and JJ walk for nothing.
1.
JoJo getting diarrhea during the playoffs because he eats like shit.
7. That was funny.
The Zaire Smith food poisoning incident.
3. Another guy we shouldn't have drafted.
The Mikal Bridges trade.
Yeah, 2. That's even worse.
The Kawhi buzzer beater.
1.
Al Horford's contract.
3. We haven't gotten a lot of positive numbers so far.
The Tobias Harris max contract.
6. That wasn't too bad.
Brett Brown being allowed to coach for 7 years.
3.
Philly fans trying to convince themselves KJ McDaniels was good at basketball.
8. You gotta love Philly's pride.
That weird window when Tony Roten looked like a starter.
I like 6. We don't have time.
The Colangelo burner accounts, total experience rated like a roller coaster.
10, top to bottom. I loved every minute of it.
Remind me, we need to read you in on that once I'm done with reading these off, because that shit's wild.
Okay.
The Rise of the Rights to Ricky Sanchez podcast.
7.
That's the Fultz trade you could manage to land? Like, that's the one you're going with?
3.
Embiid finishes a distant second to Jokic in MVP voting.
8. He's on the come up.
Ben Simmons passes to Matisse Thybulle when he could have dunked over one of the smallest men in the NBA.
-1 billion. Numbers don't go that low.
The current Ben Simmons trade situation we're all trapped in, and it won't let us leave.
3.
Okay, so M. Fun fact, the general manager for the Philadelphia 76ers, a professional basketball team, had burner accounts on Twitter that he used to talk shit about his players.
There was a moment where journalists were making fun of him for having a really big tie knot. And I think the quote was, "It's a normal size knot. There's no angle here. Move on," from the burner account.
Yeah, so he would like talk shit about his players, and then also defend himself. Like he had burner accounts that were just like, "I think Brian Colangelo is a really good GM."
Okay. Sounds like totally normal stuff.
Totally normal stuff for a multi-million-dollar GM to be doing.
Yeah, exactly.
He got fired for this also.
Oh. Damn.
They found out, and it turns out once you've created burner accounts to slander your team, it's hard for them to ever trust you again.
Yeah, they don't like that too much.
They don't. It's hilarious that's why he got fired. All right. Well, now that email's out of the way, we can go to the Discord report.
The Discord report. Boop-a-doop-a-doop-a-doop. This week on the Discord. Hey, Pete. What would you say the best game of all time is?
Ooh, it'd be tough for me to pick which Fire Emblem, but probably one of them.
Well, IGN had a best video game of all time bracket that People were a little upset about. Just to let you know what the final pairing was, God of War against Grand Theft Auto 5.
And we need to clarify, this is the most recent God of War, the PlayStation 4 God of War.
2018 one.
What were their criteria?
It
graphical
was,
fidelity exclusively?
I think this was just a fan vote. Certain matchups, like, let's see, the Chrono Trigger versus Burnout 3. Who do you think wins? Chrono Trigger being kind of a big deal.
Yeah, I mean, if it were Burnout 1, maybe, but like by the time I got to Burnout 3, they've burned out of good ideas.
Or Paradise, say, for example. Yeah. It's amazing that it was 3 and not one of the better Burnouts. I don't know that 3 is the best Burnout.
Like, you could have, if you had told me Chrono Trigger had won outright, I would have been like, cool, yeah, decent pick.
Yeah. Burnout 3 won that matchup in the first go-round.
Absolutely.
59-41. Other such matchups, Legend of Zelda Ocarina of Time versus Skyrim.
I've never played a Skyrim game.
Yeah.
So I couldn't tell you. But again, if you had told me Ocarina of Time had won the whole thing, I would have been like, yes, that checks out with what I know of the internet.
Also knocked out in the first round, 37-63.
37?
Yeah.
This is a bad bracket.
Yes. This is what we were talking about this week on the Discord.
Yeah. I was like,
because
you know what this says is that IGN is read by a lot of people under the age of 18.
Yeah. It's a change in times, I guess. And other than that, let's see what else we got. There was a terrible cake that ZP put into the art channel.
It was a pie caken, I think it was what it was called.
Oh, was that in here? That might be in the food channel.
Oh, is that the...
yes.
The
pie caken, yes. Pecan pie, pumpkin pie, cake, pumpkin spice icing. Which sounds like a lot.
Like a turducken of cakes?
Yes.
There are
a cake
three
and a
pies
cake
in
and
this
a
cake.
cake. Mm-hmm. And other than that, Pokemon's coming back.
It is.
We got some spoilers for that. There's a new Scyther. If that was your fan favorite back in the day, there's another one.
We also discussed the reveal of the Nintendo Direct came out since our last show.
Oh, yeah. Oh, fuck. I forgot about that. Holy shit. How could I forget? I blocked it out my memory.
Yes. So we had a couple of things come up for listeners of this show. I know what you want. I know what you need. There's a new Chocobo racing coming out in 2022, y'all.
Hell yeah.
There's going to be a new it's Chocobo Grand Prix is what it's called.
Say no more.
It's a Mario Kart game, but Chocobos. And,
System isn't going to be on. I guess all the new ones.
Wait.
Switch.
When you say Mario Kart, is that anything like Diddy Kong Racing?
Actually, Chocobo Racing is much closer to Diddy Kong Racing than it is Mario Kart.
Count me in.
It's got the same, if you get the same weapon twice, it gets upgraded mechanic. I don't know who stole it from who, though. So that's coming out. I assume there were other things announced.
Probably.
Well, there's the elephant in the room. Want to discuss the elephant? Pete, have you heard anything about the new Mario Brothers movie?
I was just about to mention it. An inspired bit of casting all around.
Holy shit. Okay.
My goodness.
So, the least bad decisions. Jack Black is going to be Bowser, which should be fun.
Yeah, he's good in everything.
Yeah, Charlie Day as Luigi. Weird choice, but I'll take it.
Look, I want Luigi manic. I want him just right on the edge of the seat. Wild card.
Which one was Cranky Kong?
Fred Armisen.
Fred Armisen.
Yeah. That one seems okay. I'm okay with that one.
He's a good voice actor, I think. Yep. I think he'll be fine.
Count me all the way out on Donkey Kong, though.
Mm-hmm.
Who's Donkey Kong?
It is Seth Rogen. When has he
Interesting.
never been grading?
You know what I think? A giant barrel-chested gorilla. I think Seth Rogen.
Damn. Harsh.
I don't know, man. Like, look, I have no idea. It's like Seth Rogen. What voice is he get? Donkey Kong makes noises in the games, and they don't sound to me like stoner comedian Seth Rogen.
Yeah, does he speak at all, Donkey Kong? I don't think he does. I think he just, like, grunts.
What about
they're
Donkey
deep.
Kong 64?
They're deep grunts.
Yeah.
He doesn't really talk. He doesn't go, "It's a me, Donkey Kong."
Speaking of It's a Me, it's a Chris Pratt
Just amazing.
as Mario.
Yeah, I don't know what's going on here.
You know, I would say that this is a gabagoolish decision, and they're just hoping that we forget about it.
Ow. Honestly, it's racist against Italians, kind of. Just
This prejudice. Just thinking Chris Pratt can capture the authenticity that is Mario.
yeah.
I'm glad issues of representation are finally getting the attention they deserve.
Yeah.
Finally.
Oh, and what's her name from the Queen's Gambit is Peach. I don't know her in anything else.
The
Is there some way we can get Scarlett Johansson playing an Asian character in the mix somewhere?
We can
Yes,
probably
that
squeeze
famous
that in there.
Asian character in the Mario universe, Kamek.
Oh boy.
So you also forgot another amazing casting decision: Keegan-Michael Key as Toad.
Oh yeah. Fuck. Yep, that's also a thing. Pete, you know what Toad sounds like, right?
Toad's very he's got a very high squeaky sort of voice, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, just like Keegan Michael Key, you know?
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
He does that voice all the time.
And
It's gonna be a weird one.
It's being made by the studio that did Sing and The Secret Life of Pets. Basically, all the movies that are basically nothing but cameos of like high-end, not high-end voice actors, high-end actors just doing their own voices in movies that have almost no plot.
You know, in retrospect too, like this studio seems to make terrible voiceover decisions all the time. Like, wasn't Secret Life of Pets the one where Louis C.K. was the lead voice?
I think so.
Ooh, I am not sure.
Like-
I know that Kevin Hart is in that movie though.
Just terrible choices all around.
But they're
Long
big names.
after Louis C.K. got canceled for whatever bullshit he did.
Masturbating in front of people.
Yep.
Yeah.
That's what it was. Never forget.
Just who
awkward
you
that-
want for your kids movie.
Yeah, so maybe this Mario movie won't be great. Maybe it'll be amazing. I don't know. The Sonic movie wasn't amazing, but it was fine. I'll take Sonic movie amount of good. That'd be fine.
As people on Twitter said, this is the price we pay for Idris Elba being Knuckles in the second Sonic movie, which was a great casting choice.
Yes.
Idris
have
Elba
to.
was Knuckles?
He's going to be Knuckles.
He's going to be Knuckles.
That's a great casting choice, but like,
Yeah,
I don't
right?
know. Idris doesn't need this.
No.
He's not ready for all that smoke that's coming from the Sonic fans.
I'm just saying, like, why? If you're Idris Elba, like, you don't need to be Knuckles. You don't need the money. You don't need critical acclaim from Knuckles. Like,
Maybe he likes Knuckles. Maybe he played a
Right.
lot of Sonic as a kid.
Maybe he's a
way into
stan.
Knuckles.
You're right. You're right.
We'll
He's got to find the Chaos Emeralds.
Yeah.
We should play Sonic Adventure. No, we shouldn't. We shouldn't do that. And one other thing that came out of that Nintendo press conference that I think is important to bring up is Project Triangle Tactics is now just called Triangle Tactics.
Yeah. Which, if anything says tentative name, that just means we've already said this is the name. We're just not happy about it. Also, Bayonetta 3, which we've been waiting for like 10 years.
Yeah,
That was announced.
I like that the Nintendo touch is that her hair still makes giant monsters, but she doesn't get naked when she's doing it. Like, that's the difference.
Oh,
So
yeah,
like they
did
cut out
change that.
50% of their audience right there.
Yeah. What a weird IP for Nintendo to have acquired.
Yeah.
But hey, they're doing a good job with it. They seem to have just said, "Yo, Platinum, go make weird bullshit. We have the IP. We'll publish it on our system."
Yeah, she's gonna fight kaiju. It'll be great. Why? I don't know.
Yeah. It was an odd Nintendo Direct. If anyone wants to write in, if there's anything that you enjoyed from that Nintendo Direct, go ahead, write in at deeplistenspod, deeplistens.libsyn.com, comment sections, deeplistenspodcast@gmail.com. So without further ado, and my obsession for this week, it's kind of a little obsession, then got less obsessed the further in I got. I watched Midnight Mass, which is the new thing from The Haunting of Hill House showrunner. He did Hill House and Bly Manor. Midnight Mass is the new thing, and I enjoyed about half of it. I will say I like the premise. I think the execution left me wanting in spots. There were a lot more monologues, like someone monologuing at someone else who's reacting with emotion. And you can only have someone monologuing at someone and then have the shot of person monologuing, then shot of reaction, and the person's like, or like, for about 30 seconds before it becomes ridiculous. And they did it more than once, where a person had to react to a speech that was maybe 1 or 2 minutes long for that entire duration. Just too many monologues those are my notes. But it's still a good show, still worth checking out. I think it goes some interesting places. So check it out. Watched all of it. Recommend, but not as wholeheartedly as I did Hill House or Bly Manor. I think it definitely goes Hill House, then Bly Manor, then Midnight Mass, distant third. All right, without further ado, let's discuss The Artful Escape. Pete, since you picked The Artful Escape, please tell me a little bit about it.
I would love to. So in this game, you play, let's call him, we'll call it like it is, Bob Dylan's nephew. They don't call him Bob Dylan, but he's Bob Dylan. And your uncle was a world famous folk music genius. He died. And now, your hometown, small town Colorado, it's called Calypso, expects you to follow in your uncle's footsteps, become a folk musician yourself, and save the town. But really, what you want to play is basically Ziggy Stardust rocking out, face-melting sci-fi guitar solos. And in order to sort of pursue your dream, or sort of as happenstance that leads you on your dream, you're picked up by a intergalactic, what would you call it? Like an intergalactic concert hall, and you're whisked away to space with Lightman, the person who runs this discotheque, and you have sort of adventures as you try to find yourself as an artist and deal with, what you want to do versus what society expects you to do. Yes. And along the way, you play some rhythm games too.
Yep, you occasionally play some rhythm games, and you occasionally platform.
Yes. Yeah, that about it. Yeah.
Yep, I think that nailed it. So the game kind of starts off with Francis Vendetti, which is really good, great last name, Vendetti. I think the first prompt is press shift to play a slow ballad about the plight of miners.
Yeah.
Yep.
And you hold shift and you start playing some folk guitar, and then it stops and it's like press shift to bemoan the plight of the Steelworkers Union. And it just keeps going on like that until you eventually get a prompt for press shift to melt face or something. And that guitar solo kind of kicks off everything. So when we're first introduced to Calypso, what did y'all think of kind of the initial setup, kind of the grounding of Francis in his world?
It's a cool little town, It's basically like a 3-tiered sort of structure. Very small town, bookstores, cafes. You can see things sort of slowly dying. It's also, this game it's not weirdly funny because it's not like a hyper serious game, but it also has some very funny moments. So like the town sort of starts to establish that humor. One of the best parts is you meet some Street musician, open guitar case playing for, coins and dollars and such. And he starts hating on Francis Vendetti, and Francis is just like, oh, well, it's always nice to hear from one of the heavyweights in the industry. And just sort of blows this guy off as he goes past. So it establishes sort of the humor and basically this town's looking to Francis to be their savior because they've built their whole lives around ex-hometown of fake Bob Dylan.
Yeah, the town is very much a fake Bob Dylan based economy. Like a bunch of the stores that are dedicated to fake Bob Dylan, Jonathan Vendetti, are doing quite well or exist. And all of the other stores, which, I mean, a bunch of them are like ludicrous names for stores. I can't remember good examples off the top of my head, but there were a bunch of them were just nonsense.
I remember the cafe cliche, stuff like that as you're walking through town. It's pretty good.
The other funniest part of the beginning, at least as far as I was concerned, was the Skiffle Band.
That was what I was going to bring up next. Yeah.
Gino, you tell us about the Skiffle Band.
Yeah, so Francis is scheduled to play his debut show at a basically anniversary, I think, of his uncle's first seminal album.
Yeah, I think so.
And there's an expectation that he's just going to play all the hits. And I forget if it's his opening act or the act that's playing his after party. That's a skiffle band. And skiffle, for those who don't know, it's basically jazz, but like, I don't know, washboards and jugs and spoons and shit. So this skiffle band is like, yo, you better have more skiffle in your act, mate. Need to get that skiffle in there.
Jimmy Page started off in skiffle.
Yeah.
Like, what the hell are you talking about?
The Beatles had skiffle roots,
And I think you're first introduced to, what's her name? The future
Violetta.
When you're introduced to Violetta, you have a conversation with her about the skiffle group. And she's like, oh yeah, I remember all those times when people are like, yo, let's play the Beatles skiffle tracks. Those are the ones you want. Yeah, I love the idea of, and you see this band, like they're carrying around their shitty instruments, and no, sorry, skiffle players, I'm sure your band is very good and not worth mocking, but these guys just kind of trying to intimidate you into playing skiffle is really good. Yeah, so you kind of walk your way through town, you get a sense of Francis being looked on. Like, did either of you find the phone with the mayor? The phone call from the mayor?
Yeah, it was good too.
Yeah, the mayor just like calls a random payphone and tells you, hey, Francis, we're really counting on you. The town's this festival is kind of the thing that keeps everything running.
Francis is like, why? How did you know I was here? He's like, I've got eyes everywhere.
I listen to the vibrations.
Yeah.
And then I believe the mayor implies that he's very corrupt.
It reminded me of two things. This sort of like weird small town. It's sad when you think about it, right? Because it's just sort of like trying to save itself. But it reminded me of Truth or Consequences. I think it's a town in Arizona that named itself after a game show. Because there was like a contest where they would give you a prize. And there's also a place in Pennsylvania. It's not too far from me. It's called Jim Thorpe, Pennsylvania. Do any of y'all know Jim Thorpe?
No.
So he was a very famous early Olympian, and he got totally he's a very famous Native American athlete, and he totally got shafted by the Olympic Committee. So he's like a very cool guy, like very worth celebrating. But Jim Thorpe has nothing to do with Jim Thorpe, Pennsylvania. He wasn't born there. He wasn't really raised there. They just sort of adopted him later on, and they named himself Jim Thorpe as sort of a publicity stunt. Good whitewater rafting, very cute little town, but there's no reason for it to be called Jim Thorpe, Pennsylvania.
Makes sense. Yeah, I mean, at a certain point, like, every small town has its own little thing. Like, actually a small town that I think is an example similarly from New York is Sleepy Hollow, New York.
Oh, yeah, in the Catskills.
It's not in this guy. It's on the Hudson River Valley. It's right north of Tarrytown.
Oh, sorry. I was mixing up. The Catskills is all about Rip Van Winkle. I apologize.
Yeah. So, in in the Hudson River Valley, there are actually a few towns that reference the legend of Sleepy Hollow. There's Irvington, which is named after Washington Irving, the author of the Legend of Sleepy Hollow. Then there's Sleepy Hollow, which at one time was North Tarrytown. I think in like the early 90s, it had been North Tarrytown for a long while, and then they rebranded and became Sleepy Hollow. And their high school mascot is the Headless Horseman. They do Halloween up real big every year, and from that point on, like the town became a mini tourist attraction.
Huh.
And it was like oh, go ahead.
I didn't know that they rebranded. I thought they were the actual one from, like, the story. Is that, like, fictional place?
It's a fictional place. Yeah, Sleepy Hollow was always a fictional town. And it's based on that Irvington, Tarrytown, Sleepy Hollow, Ossining, like that part of New York. It's the right location, but when they were North Tarrytown, they were not even Tarrytown, which is... I love Tarrytown, but, they were the part of Tarrytown with less stuff and less renown, and they were just kind of, they were closer to Ossining than Tarrytown, I would say. Ossining is a little bit more, deindustrialized, used to do shipping stuff on the Hudson, but now that's not a thing anymore. So they rebranded in the 90s, and ever since then, Sleepy Hollow has been, like, they have the Old Dutch Cemetery, which is a big attraction for Halloween folks. And now they do, like, in Halloween, they'll have a Headless Horseman go ride out of the Old Dutch Cemetery and, ride down through Main Street. And they have plays at the cemetery. Like, it's a whole thing. But that rebranding, like, completely changed what the town meant. It's all I ever knew growing up. But when I looked up the history of Sleepy Hollow, I was like, oh, this has only been Sleepy Hollow for, like, 20 years.
Oh, that's wild. Because I've been there, and I didn't know it was, like, a publicity stunt, basically. But
yeah, it's interesting. And this town, Calypso, Colorado, is completely built around the fake Bob Dylan economy. And Francis is kind of bristling at this. You can never get him to actually play a folk song. Like, he'll start playing it, and then he stops. And he kind of has an identity crisis. He speaks to, I think, it's the showrunner, right? The guy whose venue he's going to play at. And the guy's like, you better not play anything but fucking Bob Dylan.
Knock his teeth out.
Very scary guy.
And
apparently he killed a guy by punching him in the neck. Not sure if that's possible, but whatever.
You can definitely collapse a windpipe.
Yeah, that's a good point. All right.
You can also break a neck by punching them in the neck.
I don't think you can punch somebody hard enough to break their neck.
Well, maybe you can't.
All right, fair.
You haven't studied the
dim mock, the death touch.
Mock, yes, the death touch. It's all throat punching, it turns out. So Francis kind of heads back to his house, and he decides when he gets home, after, I guess you can, like, pick a sci-fi book that you'll get for free, and touching the sci-fi book, like, expands Francis's mind. And he has, like, a weird, almost like drug reaction when you touch sci-fi fiction. Like, the game cuts between a bunch of scenes of, like, a guitar. His guitar has a knob that says louder, and it'll turn higher. They'll play, like, kind of psychedelic colors, weird close-ups of Francis's face. This is kind of how the game represents when Francis is having his mind blown. And when you get home, Francis decides he is going to craft the most elaborate stage persona the world has ever seen. And then he goes to bed. And what happens after he goes to bed?
So you go to bed, and then there is a strange creature that beams down outside of your house and knocks on your door. And we are introduced to this, basically a brain in a jar with, like, eyeballs and stuff floating in it. This is Zom, is his name?
Yes.
Yes? Yeah.
Yes, with two M's.
Yes. And Zom says that he is there to basically pick him up for this intergalactic venue that they're going to go to, and to meet Lightman. And Violetto, who you met earlier, said that there was a Lightman's in town, and Francis was like, "There's no Lightman's here. I've lived here my entire life." So this alien saying it, he's like, "Okay, I'm gonna check this out." And then you get a guitar, and as you play the guitar running through town, it like lights up all the lights, and it's a pretty cool opening sequence, because it's like your music affecting the world. And then you get down to the town square, which seems to be where you're going to be playing your show, and you meet Lightman, who says exactly what Zom told you. He's there to take you to the lung.
The cosmic lung.
The cosmic lung, which is it's like a stage in space kind of thing.
It's a ship slash. They stole an opera house.
Yeah.
And put it on the cosmic lung. It's got a bar. It's basically the Normandy.
Yeah. It's where all your friends hang out.
But rock.
Yeah. And then there's a show going on at all times. And then you go over there through like a wormhole situation.
And the wormhole is weirdly organic.
Yeah. It like looks kind of squishy and pulses and such.
It undulates in a way that's unsettling.
Yes.
Not many things undulate in a very comforting way.
Do you go to the lung immediately, or do you go through the what's it called?
The cosmic expanse?
Yeah.
Or the cosmic infinite? It's something like that. You go
there
there
be a lot
first.
of weird sci-fi nonsense the whole
Yeah.
time. Which is
Yeah.
good.
So you go to the cosmic infinite, which is you're just in space, and then Lightman tells you it looks different to everyone. To
The
you,
cosmic extraordinary.
That's it. When you go to the cosmic extraordinary, it's like a platforming section, but like psychedelic shit is happening constantly. Like you're riding around on light beams. You get a double jump here, and you also get the ability to hold shift to play your guitar, and you can just hold that down like most of the game, and Francis will solo. And soloing also gives you like a kind of floaty jump. So you very, very rarely need to use it for actual platforming. But this section, you're basically just kind of holding down and to the right, and wild shit is happening behind you. Like floating spaceships and meteors and stuff.
That could really be the tagline for the whole game, really. Like, hold down and to the right while wild shit happens in the background.
Yes, and I will say the gameplay here, there's a light rhythm game and there is this light platforming, and the platforming is well designed to be very light. Like, you want to be focusing on what's going on in the background. You don't actually want to be focusing on whether you need to run or jump. And I think that was a good decision to keep the challenge and the difficulty level of the platforming as low as possible.
Yeah, you're not coming here for gameplay elements, really. It's the psychedelic, what would you call it, expanses, planetscapes that are strolling by in the background, they're super cool every time.
Yeah, I think. And what did you think of that design decision?
Oh yeah, I did what you did basically, and I was using controller because at the beginning it says, "Oh, this is best experienced on controller." So I was holding down square the whole time as I was running through. And when we got to the Cosmic Extraordinary, it's unclear if you are having like a dream or not.
Yes.
Because there is you have this robot on your desk is what I remember. And then you see it in the background as like this gigantic thing in clouds. So I was like, I wonder if this is like some, metaphysical situation. But it's unclear exactly what happens. But yeah, it's a lot of sliding down slopes and such. And as you keep playing, like, things change in the background, which there's no reason to stop playing, so it's basically a 4-hour guitar solo.
There's something I noticed about rock music, I think, out of all the genres, is that there's a particular arrogance to it that, like, rock music changes the world. Like, rock music is the most hard-hitting, like, impactful thing there is. And, like, here it's sort of, like, literally changing the background. Like, I think if you did this with, like, steel drums or, like...
Or, skiffle.
Yes, or even like a trumpet solo. Like, this wouldn't have worked with Miles Davis. Like, there's something about a hard charging guitar solo mixed with, laser light rock opera that just sort of works here in ways other genres wouldn't.
I assume that if you did this with Miles Davis and it was like you were jazzing your way through the world and it got like more colorful the more you jazzed.
Yeah.
I think that would work just fine. Okay. I don't think it would work with bongos.
Steel drums.
Maybe a saxophone. That would be good.
That'd be pretty good. Yeah, there's got to be a Kenny G game out there somewhere, right?
He was clarinet, right?
I might be. Yep. You might be right. I don't.
I mean, it was still funny either way.
I don't know my weird iconoclastic virtuosos. But yeah, I think it definitely, for the aesthetic, it definitely works. And this game, like, the thing that it most reminded me of was Brutal Legend.
Yep.
In a lot of places.
Yep. Except, finished.
Except finished, and except this game had discipline, where Brutal Legend did not. Like, Brutal Legend just kept throwing on more and more mechanics. It starts out as a action game, and then it becomes a rhythm game in spots, and then it becomes a tower defense game. And it becomes an RTS eventually. Like, it blossoms into an RTS. And the part of that game that's the most fun is where you're doing rock stuff and cool things are happening as you shred. And it just wanted to add more and more mechanics. And this game was like, this game isn't even interested really in puzzles.
Yeah. Like, one of the things that we talked about in Psychonauts was how much stuff there was to collect. This game has nothing to collect. I was like, oh yes, I can just run around and watch the colors, do crazy things. It's like, oh, thank you for not giving me a bunch of bullshit to worry about.
The one thing it does have, weirdly enough, is a very robust character creator mechanism.
Yeah,
but it only shows up like 3/5 of the way through the game.
Yeah, we will get there. So, like, as you get through the Cosmic Extraordinary, you eventually get to the Cosmic Lung, and then you find out that Lightman is having you join his tour. He's got 3 shows to put on, and the way that the tour works is you get beamed to someplace in the universe. And get told, okay, you need to play a show, and by play a show we mean like play guitar once or twice at this location, but we beamed you like on the planet where you need to play, but not where you need to play. So you need to platform your way over to the show, and there are, I guess, basically space cameras following you around as you are adventuring to your gig.
Pretty much. Brief aside about Lightman while we're on the subject.
Yes.
So it's sort of hard to tell like how much of this is true and how much is his own myth creation, but at least in a certain respect, in certain corners, he was regarded as a prodigy when he was discovered and he was basically a space baby, prodigy at 12, then widely considered the greatest musician in the universe when he played music for the Glamour God.
The Glamour God.
Glamour God, which is a space kaiju that will either, if you don't entertain it, it eats you, or you can never leave. It's basically a black hole of entertainment. To escape, you must entertain the Glamour God.
Yeah, it is
so entrancing that you will just stare at it forever if you don't impress it.
It's a Gorgon. It's a Glamour Gorgon. If it makes eye contact with you, if you look at it, you're turned to stone, basically. Unless you entertain it, in which case it breaks you free of its hold and then sends you on your way and makes you super famous.
So this is what Lightman defeated with the power of his kick-ass guitaring.
Yes, and Lightman, I like that they introduced Chekhov's Glamour God in the first act, so that you know that the Glamourgon's gonna come up. They just keep talking about it. I'm like, I wonder if I'm gonna have to play in front of the Glamourgon. It's always good. Good, clean storytelling. So the first place you're sent is like an ice planet, and you're told to meet Star Gordon. They don't tell you who Star Gordon is. They don't tell you anything else. They just say,
How
like,
many
yeah,
Star Gordons could there be on the planet, though, really? I'm sure there's just the one.
probably. They tell you that the only way you're going to beat Star Gordon is to go through his agent. So you have to go find his agency, and then you have to go to Star Gordon. His agency is staffed by M. Who's in the agency?
There is a cat sitting on the agency like booth, and you're like, oh hey, and it's like, don't touch me. You're like, oh fuck, I didn't expect you to talk. And then you go into like this cave system, and I think you just kind of find Star Gordon at the end of it.
Yeah, he's voiced by a famous actor. Which famous actor is it?
Let's see.
Something Strong, I think.
Mark Strong.
Mark Strong, yes. You might remember him from, I think, he was in the Sherlock Holmes movie, right?
Yes.
Like the Johnny Depp one. Not Johnny Depp, sorry. Robert Downey Jr.
Yes. He was in...
Oh, he's in Kingsman, too.
Kingsman? Yes. Yep. He's the secret agent guy.
He's the bald guy.
Yeah.
So he basically starts talking to you, and everyone keeps saying, yeah, seeing Star Gordon is going to be really dangerous. And Francis is like, sure. But as soon as you meet him, you fall unconscious and then wake up on the set of an interview show. So this game takes you through several stages of like becoming famous, like the glamorous or unglamorous parts. And I love the like car wash of the interview show, where Star Gordon is asking you, about yourself. And I think before this, you get to name yourself. You get to name yourself after the Cosmic Extraordinary, right?
Mm-hmm.
So what name? So you get to choose your name. It's basically an adjective, and then your whatever you decide. What did y'all pick for your name?
Pete, you want to go first?
Sure, I went with the Dynamite Manly Tinderstaff.
That's pretty good.
Yep.
That's a good one.
I was the Slippery St. Peter Sr.
Nice. That's a good one, too.
My character was the cheeky little butter boy.
Yes, that well-known rock god.
Mm-hmm.
Cheeky little butter boy.
Every time they said it, it's just, hey man, it's the cheeky little butter boy. I need your autograph.
It's also funny because every time they say it, it's like a text entry. So they can't actually say your name. They just like play a guitar solo.
Play a sweet solo. Just
They do say the adjective.
Yes. So
I am the cheeky little. I'm the cheeky.
It's funny.
And when you meet Star Gordon, you get to say what you were known for and where you come from, like where your home planet is. So, what did y'all pick for your like renown?
I was I'm not going to get it perfectly right, but I was the general of the Light Brigade.
Yes,
I was like,
also.
ooh, poem reference, count me in.
Is that a poem reference?
Yeah, well, I don't know if they did it deliberately, but the Charge of the Light Brigade is a very famous poem.
It was like General of the Heavy Metal Light Brigade. And the planet I was from was, I'm never going to remember the name of it, but it is known for producing one like prodigy or a supervillain. So
yeah, there's a lot of sci-fi nonsense.
Yeah,
I was from 16A because I was like, that's probably just my house.
Oh
right
yeah,
off
16A Park Street.
Yeah.
Right past Gluten Height off the M1.
Yep. Got a screenshot of that one.
Yeah, so my character was the leader of the Infinitely Loud Orchestra, and he was from Galaxram, which was a planet that brews a milk that transports all consumers to a Manchester dance party in September 1987.
Sounds like a kick-ass milk.
Yeah, but all the planets have really good descriptions. Like 16A Park Street was definitely a candidate. There's also Ramjet Rock, which is home to the Museum of a Billion Spiders.
Why would anyone go to that?
That's where I'm from. I'm sorry. That's where my family's from. We worked at the Spider Museum. We sold popcorn. But yeah, you basically go through this interview, and Star Gordon keeps pressing you, and you can tell him more and more outlandish things about your backstory. And eventually he gets more piercing. He starts asking you, like, that all sounds cool, but I'm starting to think maybe you're a kid from Earth, and you're just in over your head, and you're lying to me? And then I believe, like, the lights cut out, and the nice atmosphere kind of goes away.
You have a little bit of a freak out at the end there. And then you go to the right, as you do in this game, and then Star Gordon is like, oh, you really took that a little bit hard, huh? And
yeah, and he also threatens to eat you.
Yeah.
He says Lightman knows that if you ever came on my show again, I'd eat him. But he lets you go. You have to jam, and this is, I mean, up until this point, you've done the guitar stuff, I think maybe once or twice before this, but you're basically playing the rhythm game is a fancy game of, what is the?
Simon Says.
Simon Says, yeah. It's got 5 lights instead of 4, though.
Real cutting edge stuff.
Yeah. And
how do you play it on the keyboard?
So on the keyboard, which is how I played it, it's Q, W, E, A, and D, and each of them corresponds to a location on the Simon Says.
Oh, that's interesting. So is the A and D the, like, eyebrows?
A and D are the bottom ones. Q and
I
E
see.
are the eyebrows, and W is the middle one. And it's worth mentioning, like, everything that uses this scheme has the Simon Says iconography that this game uses on its face somehow.
The only other difference, too, is you can hit multiple buttons at once. I don't think you can do that on Simon Says.
Yeah, you can play chords.
Sometimes
that's what they're called.
Very hard to do that on the controller, because sometimes it wants you to do, like, the shoulder buttons and also one of the face buttons. So I got my stupid hands. I could see what to do, but sometimes it fucks you up.
Yeah, it was awkward too with the keyboard. Like occasionally it would ask you to do 3 or, I think 3 is the most that it ever makes you do at once, but sometimes it's an awkward 3. And each of the different Simon Says faces corresponds to a note, and I think the notes change, or at least the effects that they put on the notes change from level to level. And I think in this section, like, after you leave Star Gordon, like, you play a duet with him, where it's always he plays something, you play it back, he plays something, you play it back. I think you start flying away, and you just get the free reign to play whatever you want. And they leave the, like, controls on so that you can play notes. And I thought that was one of the coolest parts of the game, the moments where they just allowed you to jam with the 5 notes that they've given you and chords in combination with the background music and the visuals. Like, just noodling
So
is super
good.
fun in this game.
Yeah. There's, like, 3 sequences where this happens, and there's, like, stuff that happens in the background, like the other sequences, but it's so cool every time. It's, like, probably one of the best sequences in this game. It's just that flying around, jamming.
Yeah, you get the feeling of They managed to give you just enough so that you can feel like you have some authorial control on the music you're playing, but there's no score. You can't fail. I wish they'd let you do it again, just to screw around and play music.
Yeah. I was gonna say, or if, like, during the platforming elements, instead of just, like, shift to rock out, you could get a little bit more complex with it.
Yeah, I did like that when you shift to rock out, the rocking out seems to correspond to the different background musics. So it's not like you're just playing the same, 30-second loop over and over and over again, which technically probably was challenging. And, I mean, this game manages to capture the feeling of creating music in a way that I didn't expect from it. Now, it's obviously very limited. The rails are very tight. but those few moments, because of the visuals, because you've got this background music that's making whatever you're playing, as long as you're not playing just complete nonsense, it will make what you play cool. And because this style of rock, this kind of power chord, long-held notes with effects on them, this style really lends itself to just like hold note for 3 seconds, switch to next note, hold for 3 seconds, and it sounds cool as hell. You know, it's not Van Halen. You're not just shredding a bunch of things, and the game doesn't even like really handle trying to play a bunch of notes in rapid succession well. It's good. It sounds good when you hold notes.
Yeah. There's something too, like this game's sort of stupid uplifting for how simple it is. Like it's a very inspiring sort of game to play where you're like, actually, yeah, I'm a rock god. And I think part of it is the difference in scales between the music and your character, Francis. So most of the time to capture these huge sweeping vistas, Francis becomes like, you know, a few pixels on the screen, which is cool because the backgrounds are amazing. But even when Francis is so tiny, his sound is just so massive that I think there's something inspiring about the dichotomy between how small he is versus the sound he's producing.
Yeah, I really enjoy when his notes are like, after the Star Gordon section, there's a bunch of like skulls that are staring at a Glamour God long past. Like they're just frozen in place. You can see skulls on necks, and you can't even see the bodies because they're so huge. And if you play while they're behind you, they will light up and then collapse. Like the bones will collapse from the sheer force of your rock. And it's a very cool visual. And that happens so often. Yeah, it's really amplifying Francis's power, or the cheeky little butter boy's power.
Yeah, because you've reinvented yourself, which we will also get to.
So you get back after playing this show. Star Gordon helps you get back to the Cosmic Lung, and you see that you were playing in the bar, like on a screen, and Lightman was playing on the main stage, just kind of a giant hologram of him. And there's a little bit of buzz. I think in the bar, people are saying you were really good. But in the main stage, no one recognizes you.
It's worth noting that the thing that you like play with at the end of this sequence, the Heliotron, it's like, I will broadcast you all across the galaxy. And Francis, who is supposed to be like a folk hero in his hometown, is like, don't do that. And so there's a little bit of animosity from Violetta when you get back, because she's like, that was stupid, you should have just went for it. But Francis is like, but if they see it in Calypso, then they'll be upset because I'm not what they want me to be, which might be a theme of this game.
Yeah, there's totally he could be famous across the galaxy, but because one small town of people that she's like, if you never want to see them again, you could never see them again. Like, if this goes well for you, you could be doing this forever. And he's like, yeah, but what if I disappoint one person?
Which, not that like this needs to be the main point of the game, but I feel kind of bad for Francis's mom.
Yeah.
Like, she's very clearly a great mom, and like, if this is all really happening, her son just disappeared in the middle of the night, potentially never to return, and Francis doesn't like bring her up at all.
Francis is too in his feelings.
Yeah, I'm telling you.
Yeah, so like after this section, Violet is not happy that you didn't broadcast her laser light show across the galaxy. And then you are sent on your second show, which is to play at Lumineer Violente, which is a very exclusive club that's in this otherwise like dead desert planet.
Yep. So exclusive, there's no one at the club.
So exclusive, there's no one at the club, and so high end, it moves around constantly and is never in the same place twice, which is a pretty good setup. When you get there, before you get there, you meet the Wonder Krill, who tells you where it is.
The Wonder Krill's great. It's basically a giant shrimp that shoots lasers out of its back.
Yeah, and its voice is amazing. And it tells you that this club is at the bottom of this giant city that has been dead for centuries. And once you get to the actual, it's Luminaire Violente, and then the tagline is Musique Diabolique. So you know it's very exclusive. And the proprietor of this club is some sort of shrimp creature that talks in saxophone. So other characters, like, they have red dialogue, and this thing just, like, the words will come out, but the sounds coming out of its face are saxophone noises. And then you jam with it, but there's no one in the club. But the shrimp says you're welcome back anytime you want. And he gives you a ticket to the city of Beige, I think is the name of the city. And it's a city governed by fashion. And
the Beige is the city where there's supposed to be a way off of this planet.
Yes.
But then there's no one in Beige anymore, so you have to go to Glimmer City, which is the fancy fashion city, which you need a way to get there, because right now you're stranded.
Yeah, so you meet Frida, who's an alien with very cool taste, and she's got a cool airship, and she says, hey, if you're going to go to Glimmer City, you can't be wearing this very generic spacesuit. We need to get you better clothes. And this is where you get to pick how your character looks for the rest of the game. So what vibes were you going with? And Em, I think you have a little bit to talk about with kind of this section as well.
Oh, yeah. So my vibes that I went with can best be described as trans lesbian. I went with the plaid shirt over a tube top with pink and blue shades and guitar, and cut up jeans with fishnets under them and high tops. So a very distinct aesthetic. I was reading this game as a trans metaphor from very early on. There is an article that I found after the fact. Let's see who wrote this.
It is thegamer.com.
Yes.
Is where the article is located.
By Stacey Henley.
And the article is called The Artful Escape is All About Trans Acceptance.
Yes. The Transical Mystery Tour of the Artful Escape. So if you want to hear more about this, how this game is a very trans narrative, this is a good article. And it's true, because it's all about deciding who you are and also who you're not, which I think will resonate with a lot of people. And I fucking went for it. There is no way to change your pronouns, which is unfortunate. And also my rock god name was slightly gendered, but I just took it as first name Saint, last name Peter, Senior. So, yeah, it's a fun way of reading it. I don't know if that resonated with you guys or if I'm reaching.
Oh, no, you're not reaching. This game very intentionally gives you female-coded hairstyles, female-coded clothes. You can wear fishnets, you can wear garter belts, you can wear almost anything. This game is very invested in David Bowie-esque gender fluidity.
But you must wear sunglasses.
Yes.
At no point in this game do you see any human character's eyes. Everybody has glasses. It's wild.
I think maybe some people in the town don't have glasses.
What? I don't even remember.
But between you and Violetta, who are and Lightman for that matter,
yes.
The three human characters that you're with for the majority of the game, they all have sunglasses of a fashion. Yes. Which is an interesting choice. I wonder why they did that.
Maybe eyes looked weird in their art style, but sunglasses look good. Because it's almost like a paper doll art style, I would say. This game looks a little bit like Flipping Death and Stick It to the Man. That art style, 3D background, but kind of almost 2D cutout characters. And they animate that way. They animate, kind of completely 2D. When Francis jumps, it looks very, very funny, especially when you jump and play the guitar.
I was thinking of Oxenfree and
Yep.
the After Party for most of it.
Yep,
Because it's
those
very
are
much
also
that same
Very similar.
art style.
But I think for my character, my cheeky little butter boy, his outfit was very. I went Bowie. I'm like, this has to be David Bowie. There was a hairstyle called the Phoenix that I went with, which had two like wings of hair and then a big almost swan neck in the middle, which went from like a pink tone to an orange tone. And orange and purple were my dominant colors. So I went with a silk V-neck, very deep V, winged glasses with like white on the top, orange on the bottom, purple and orange face makeup. You can do your hands. I forget what the shoes were. I think the shoes were like high tops or something. I went understated on the pants and belt because you need to. Something has to be understated. Yeah, and I think I went with the same sort of guitar that you did, Em. Pete, how did you go?
So
A punk rocker.
So the best way to describe myself would probably be as skeleton Buddy Holly.
Great.
Yep. So I did a very sort of classic black suit. I did go white high tops instead of the black shoes, and then you could make your body and face and hands glow in the dark skeletons. So I was glow in the dark skeleton Buddy Holly playing a Flying V guitar.
I just want to say that it's too soon to make that sort of joke about Buddy Holly.
I'm sorry, I didn't realize
Is
it was
it?
such a sore spot for you, Gino.
It's still too soon.
When did Buddy Holly die?
Like the 40s.
Ah, okay.
It's in like the 50s. He died in a tragic plane crash.
Oh, right.
Him and the Big Bopper, right?
Him and the Big Bopper, everyone's favorite musician.
That reminds me one of the interactions early on in this game where you meet someone who is cosplaying as your uncle.
Oh yeah.
Who is like got a tire track on him, which I guess implies that he was run over. And he's like, "Who are you supposed to be?" He's like, "I'm Zombie Vendetti." You're like, "Oh, that's in poor taste."
Yeah, it's pretty good. So yeah, you get to pick your outfit, and then you go to Glimmer City, and in this town, they don't like your color, they don't like your look. You are given a ticket by the weird sack shrimp that's supposed to get you into Glimmer City, but the ticket that you have is gold number 22, and all official tickets are done in gold tooth, I think, number 23. And they're
Golden
like, yeah,
toothpaste number
right.
23C is what it needs to be.
And they don't let you into town. And so
But-
you're like, nah, I'm going to start a revolution.
But they also just kind of let you go into town also.
Yeah,
I
they're just
thought
like,
we
hey,
would-
buddy, stop.
Yeah. I thought they would have like made you go back or something, but you just kind of like jump past those guys that stopped you.
Yeah, because they're too wrapped up in their fashion, they can't move. I think was the explanation they try to give, is that these characters, and like there are only a few alien models in this game, so this kind of reuses some of the aliens that are on the Cosmic Lung. But yeah, they say their fashion's too restrictive to actually stop a person who's wearing pants from running right by them. So yeah, you can jump, like, you basically start a musical revolution. It's like that Aerosmith video game, Music is the Weapon. You run to the right, and the city gets more and more upset about your look, and they're like, it's too rebellious. It's like he doesn't have a care in the world. He's got too much freedom. I love how it escalates as you run through town, and eventually you win over people by shredding your way through the city. And then what is the name? The Fashionista, the leader of this fascist fashion government, says that he will allow you to leave this town and go back.
The warp turtle.
Right, he'll let you go to the warp turtle, which we take you back to the Cosmic Lung. It's very important to say this is in fact a turtle that will shoot you into space. And he says you can take the warp turtle back to the Cosmic Lung, but I'll be allowed to pursue you on whatever vehicle I choose. And then you have a boss battle playing sick rock at his weird flying biological vehicle.
Yeah, some like strange blob creature thing. And you just shred its face off, and this turtle's just tripping through space. You're riding it, and eventually you make it back to the lung.
And when you get back to the lung, things have changed. Pete, how do things change?
So you are, I think this is when you find out that you are now the captain of the Cosmic Lung. You've replaced Lightman, he's not at the top of his game anymore. You know, he's aged, he's slipping a little bit. Violetta's like, look, you're missing your cues, like you're not who you used to be, and he's been demoted, and he does not take it well.
Yeah, so the captain of the Cosmic Lung is whoever the most popular musician is in the galaxy. And so once you play this show, you have become the most popular musician in the galaxy, and so the Cosmic Lung is yours. And the roles are reversed. You were originally opening for Lightman. Lightman is now opening for you. But Lightman asks if he can pick the venue of your third and final show. And so he picks
the Hyperion Whale Zone, which is where the Glamour God lives.
Whale spelled like yelling or
Yes.
wailing on a guitar.
Yes. And so you go to the Hyperion Whale Zone, which is like a cool jungle environment. So the first level is kind of an ice level. Second level is kind of a desert level. The third level is kind of it's got almost a Donkey Kong level sort of feel to it. And as you are running through the jungle, shredding, you eventually happen upon a village. So the trick is no one can just go play for the Glamour God. You need to play for the Tastemaker, which is some sort of cosmic being that will tell you whether you're good enough to play for the Glamour God. And then after that, if you do well, you can play for the Glamour God. And Lightman is ahead of you, so he is kind of taking the first crack at, warming up the act. And the warm-up, you're judged based on the warm-up act and the main act.
And he's really blowing up your spot too. Like he's still good, but he's not what he once was, and people notice.
Yes. And he's also played this venue before, so they're like, we've heard him before. We've already heard this guy and his deal. So this section I think is pretty cool because before you can get to the Tastemaker, you have to go to these villages because they're like they're the scouts that let the Tastemaker know if someone worth hearing is coming. And the way that you do this is by going on a fake radio show, which, let me see if I wrote down the name. Devin and Bitbot Radio Car Wash, which is perfect. So you're just like fielding questions, and they ask you, do you have time for fan questions? And you can say whether you have time for 1, 2, or 3 questions. How much time did you have for your fans?
2 questions. Leave them wanting more.
I gave him 3.
I only did 2. I figured they didn't deserve cheeky little butter boy's time. And you can big time them too, which is pretty good. You can be like, these little people. They don't, and your answers tend to be like a down-to-earth answer, a big-time answer, and an even bigger-time answer, which I really appreciated. So what did we think of kind of getting to the Tastemaker and then the Tastemaker?
There's a very sort of, it's almost like a Footloose quality to what's going on. So you need to basically teach these people how to party again. And then you can ride this creature that only wakes up every 10,000 years. I guess when anybody starts rocking hard enough. It's fine. It's a nice little bit. I mean, this is also, though, the, third or fourth moment you've ridden some fantastic creature into, like, the halls of rock. Mm-hmm. Like, eventually you're just like, nah, I've ridden enough things.
I was still with it for this one. It seemed like the finale.
Yeah,
I didn't mind it.
I was down for any time just because the background music would change and get into solo and do shit was always fun. Mm-hmm. But we get to the Tastemaker, and the Tastemaker you've met before in the Cosmic Extraordinary. It's voiced by Lena Headey.
Yes.
Yeah.
Voice of Cersei Lannister is probably what she's best known for. Mm-hmm. She's also in the Judge Dredd remake, though. Underrated movie.
Also in, I think, Bubblegum Milk. No. What is the... it's
Neon
some Netflix
Milkshake.
movie.
Yeah, and so I watched the first 30
Gunpowder
minutes.
Milkshake.
That was it, yes.
Something cool milkshake.
She was also in Kingsglaive Final Fantasy 15, which
Who
we
was she
just
in
had an
Kingsglaive?
episode. I don't fucking know. Let me check.
Is she Luna Freya?
She was. Where's her?
Chocobo?
She's the Chocobo.
I don't
Lena
know.
Headey.
I gotta go to another page for her full filmography.
so
She was
never
Luna
mind.
Freya. She was Luna Freya.
Okay, I was like, was she the one woman who has a speaking part?
Who dies immediately off screen? No.
Nah, that's Crow. Crow does get 2 lines. You're
Yeah.
right. I'm sorry, that was unfair of me.
If you want to hear more about this, we had an episode come out, 2 weeks ago?
Yeah, about 2 weeks ago we did Final Fantasy 15, but not like the parts you want to do. It's
Yeah.
Kingsglaive and A King's Tale.
The side bits.
Yeah, so Lena Headey basically is like, you're really good, we think you can talk to the Glamour Gun, but there's something that's off about you. And she sees through you in a way and says there's something that doesn't match everything else.
There's a note that's off.
And it's folk music.
You're like, oh no.
She knows. I should have played more skiffle.
It's come back to haunt me.
And so she, basically blasts you. She throws you into the void because you are not a tonally whole being at this point. She senses doubt in you, and great music cannot have doubt. And does she send you all the way back home?
I don't know if she actually does or not, because it's in a weird black space.
Yeah, dream states and everything.
Yeah. But you are in front of your people from town. You're back in your regular home outfit, your folk music outfit, I guess. And you are forced to play your sad folk music songs about miners. And you are not happy about this.
No, not at all. And you also, the last show, they're like, oh man, the last show's coming up, and it's only an hour until I play my big show back in Calypso. How am I gonna do this cool adventure and my homework? And so this moment kind of comes to a head, and maybe you're not gonna be able to play your show, or you're gonna disappoint everyone. But then your character is like, nah, I'm the cheeky little butter boy. I need to play in front of the biggest, loudest crowd. So you will yourself back to the Glamour Gun. You also find out that Lightman, when he impressed the Glamour Gun, he was actually a backup musician to your uncle, Johnson Vendetti, who gets tied into this galactic tale as well. And then the Glamour Gun, you play for it. It's this big, weird space creature. It looks almost like a brain with galaxies in it.
Yeah, it almost has a moth-like quality to its head, though. I thought of it Space Mothra.
A little bit, yeah. I could see that. It's one of the more elaborate rhythm game sections. You have to build a stage and then to go on the stage that you built through the power of rock.
It's an interesting too. You know what all these sort of space creatures reminded me of was, I hate to bring him up, horrible racist that he is, but H.P. Lovecraft's old ones. It's it's very sort of they're these massive extraterrestrial beings that humanity almost can't comprehend. But whereas Cthulhu instantly drives everybody crazy, these space creatures open up the doors to your mind, gives you new insight and epiphany, lets you know things you didn't know before. It's an interestingly optimistic take, right? Why should Cthulhu have to drive everybody crazy when he could just as easily express, the infinite wonderment of the universe?
Yeah. What if Cthulhu, instead of, killing you basically by looking at him and driving you mad, what if instead just had sick licks and then asked you to do a cosmic radio show?
What if he was a one-man giant Laser Floyd concert? Wouldn't that be way cooler? You stupid racist Lovecraft.
Even if once you impress the Glamour Gun, it tells you way to go, and for doing this I'm going to give you an anti-engine spaceship, which is a hot rod sort of spaceship, and it does a plug for the spaceship brand.
Tagline.
As though this happens all the time, like it's got a sponsorship deal with this spaceship line.
Do you remember the tagline that it said? It was something silly.
I think it's like, if it's
awesome.
not anti-engine, it's nothing.
Yeah.
Or something.
It should be noted though, like you actually don't impress the Glamour God. What really impresses the Glamour God is Violetta's laser show, and she's just been kicking ass this whole time, and like she has her own weird relationship to fame. Like she's very sort of dead mouse. You know, she wears a mask the whole time she's in public.
And she's like, as you are flying away on your new ship, she's like, I'm going to enjoy my newfound fame. And you're like, but they don't know it's you. She's like, I'll wear the helmet. It's fine.
She's thought it all through. It's genius.
Yeah.
Truly the hero of this story.
After the show, you and Violetta just kind of fly off on a spaceship, and you're like, actually, I want to go back to Calypso to play my show. She's like, fucking why? Those people don't deserve you. Like, and you know, go as yourself. Don't go as your uncle's shadow. So you're late to your show, but you can get to the after show. And once you get to the after show, you know, I forget if you show up in your normal clothes and then you put on the persona, or if you show up with your persona and just big time the jerk who says, you better not fuck this up for me. I
think you show up as your persona, because he's like, what the fuck are you wearing?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's it. Right. You show up as your persona, and then you go up on stage and you press shift to blow everyone's minds. And that's the game. So what did we think? Like, I was really impressed. I think that there's a lot of self-discovery tales in this. They trimmed a lot of the things that might have distracted from the narrative and from the visuals, which are the key parts of this game, and from the sound. It's just a really well-executed little story.
Yeah, and it's a very tight sort of like 3.5 hours. So like, because the vistas change so much and the sound changes as you play, like, it doesn't wear out its welcome. You know, like there's always something new to look at, and it finishes and you're like, yeah, that was like the right time to finish.
Yes.
Yep. That was my big thing with it. I did it in like a little over 4 hours. And I didn't feel as though it had any downsides really, because the actual gameplay was fast. The visuals are amazing. It's all soundtrack, basically. Good all around. And the story was good. Like, it didn't need any more.
Tremendous discipline.
Mm-hmm.
The game had a limited focus, and it just knocked it out of the park. Like, the visuals in this game, you should play it just to see it and to hear it, because I have not seen, when you say, like, trippy visuals, they're not usually executed this well.
Yeah. Usually it feels like we're going to do the Psychonauts thing, basically. Not to hate on your child there, but this one's worth seeing for yourself, I think.
Yeah, they decide to do psychedelic stuff, and it's not like we're just gonna do the Beatles. We're gonna do Yellow Submarine, you know. And I think that it's cool. Like, there's a diversity to the visuals and to the styles, but it all feels totally consistent, which is not always the case.
It's also hard to make a laser show like compelling without lasers.
Yes.
But they do a good job. Laser's an acronym too. I had no idea.
Huh.
Yeah.
Something.
Light and...
I'll have to look it up. No, it's like light array.
Mm-hmm.
You guys
Light array, Ziggy Stardust.
all those Z's and D's.
Electric.
So it's light amplification by stimulated emission of radiation.
Fuck that.
There's a lot of extra letters in there.
Yeah, it's not a great acronym, but it's an acronym.
It's a cool one.
I do have to say, as far as the presentation of the performances, we've seen other games do stuff like this. I think we did this in After Party as well. where there was kind of like a song portion, but it's very hard to make like the scale feel good. But all of the performances in this game actually feel like they have the gravity that they're supposed to have. I didn't feel like if the Glamour God fight in quotes was like underwhelming, it would have felt like but it fucking went hard.
Yeah, and they do a good job of like the Glamour God. It's a stage. There are fans in the crowd waving signs, and then there's this giant weirdo moth galaxy brain thing in the background, and they managed to blend the recognizably rock with the extraterrestrial in a way that's really sleekly done. You'd never feel like these things are tonally discordant. You know, when something speaks in saxophone at the weird underground fake hoity-toity club, it's like, this is perfect. I understand this club, but also it's extraterrestrial in a way that's completely alien.
So I think that this game deserves all the praise we've heaped on it, right? Absolutely. I think there are two discordant notes we need to mention, though. One is, I'll start with mine. I do think Violetta verges on Manic Pixie Dream Girl. So, like, she comes in, she basically, breaks up your whole life. She's mysterious. She's, quirky. It helps a little bit that, like, there's nothing that really goes on between you. Like,
no, there's no romance.
Yeah, exactly. Violetta has her own dream. She's got her own thing. She's like the real hero of the Glamour God fight. So that sort of moves it past that trope. But there are some like lurking similarities that are a little squishy.
It's good that she wasn't voiced by Zooey Deschanel, because that was probably in the cards.
One of the things, like when you first meet her, it didn't occur to me at the time, but she is actually stealing like valves from the guy who punches people in the throat to kill them. And now that you say it, I'm like, that's kind of a Manic Pixie Dream Girl thing to do.
Yeah,
like,
also like
shoplifting.
Why would she need those valves for her intergalactic cosmic lung laser light show? But
it's high tech and low tech.
Whatever.
This thing. And then the second dissonant chord.
The second bit, I think, is mine.
Yeah.
Lightman is kind of the magical black man stereotype that comes up in stories like these, as like the older guy who shows you the ropes, which is not great. I mean, it's not the worst way that I've seen this happen in stories, but also it's got a long history of being squirrely.
Yeah,
so.
It's not like Bagger Vance bad.
Yeah,
but like it's it's a little bit iffy.
Yeah, it is a shame that like Lightman's character is not more developed. Like we hear a little bit about his backstory, but not too much about who he is as a person.
Yeah, I will say though, Carl Weathers as Lightman knocked it out of the park.
Yes, and I was going to bring up like these characters. Jason Schwartzman's in there as Zom, which is this like alien that is in. He works for Lightman. He works for the Galactic Lung or the Cosmic Lung. But he's fine as Jason Schwartzman. Like he's a little bit recognizable, but not distracting. Same thing with Lena Headey, like doing a good job. She also has some effects on her, so she's not as recognizable. I think that Carl Weathers does a great job. Like all of these voice actors, they are definitely professionals, like professional actors, but they don't distract from the narrative that's being told, which I think is good. Like I could imagine if you picked someone a little bit hammier, it might be a little bit more distracting and off-putting. All right. Well, I think that's the Artful Escape, which means now, Em, it is your turn to pick once again.
It's my turn to pick. I think I'm going to pick a new game that's come out. This is someone who we wanted to check out for a little while. I don't think we've looked at any of her work before. Christine Love has a new game out.
Hell yeah.
We're going to play. Oh shit! What's the name of this? What's the full name? Hold on. It's Get in the Car. It's Get in the Car Loser. I was gonna get it right anyway.
We're going shopping?
I was thinking that was the subtitle, but it's not actually part of it. Get in the Car Loser, a lesbian road trip RPG.
I like all the parts of that title.
Yep, we're gonna JRPG, visual novel stuff. It'll be fun.
Oh, man, is this game free?
Yes. I don't know why, because it took her several years to make, so she should get paid for it. But I'll take it for free if you give it to me.
Yo, there's a DLC for this that's called Get in the Car Loser Battle on the Big Boardwalk.
Yeah. Do we want to play the DLC?
We'll see how long the original game, the main game is, but it's just very funny to me that they've got a Final Fantasy V reference in there.
Yep.
Battle on the Big Bridge.
Yep. It'll be good.
All right. So next up, we are playing Get in the Car Loser. Get in the Car, loser. Well, before we do that, just our normal sign-off. You can get in touch with the show at DeepListensPod on Twitter, deeplistens.libsyn.com. We have our comment sections and deeplistenspodcast@gmail.com. You can also support the show on patreon.com/deeplistens. Thank you, Pete.
Yeah, a very cool psychedelic game, and I'm glad we all enjoyed it.
Yeah, thank you, M.
Thank you. I feel like I should listen to some Bob Dylan now.
He's pretty good. It just, understand that he wasn't trying to sing very well.
Gotcha.
Necessarily. More sing-talking. It's very easy to do a fake Bob Dylan voice, thanks to how iconic it is. You just kind of got to go, "He the boy, be the boy."
One of the best Bob Dylan parodies is in Walk Hard, the Dewey Cox story. It's a very small bit, but it's very funny.
Oh, it is. Him singing about the play. I mean, I don't think the song Little Midget Man holds up as well.
Jesus.
Right now. As
that part.
Yeah, that song's not so good. The song is funny, but I don't think the words hold up as well. He also has a song about Farmer Glickstein and his high heels. I forget the words of it, but it's just inscrutable. Just like symbols on top of symbols on top of symbols, which is great. Perfect Bob Dylan stuff. All right, well, thank you, listeners. Next time up, we're getting in the Car Loser. And till next time, peace.